We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Mr. Secretary General.
All men are created equal.
Mr. President.
They're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Distinguished delegates.
Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All righty then, back in the big chair here on WSHO Sunshine 800 AM. Trey Roberts, Tea Party Trey, if you will, sitting in on this, well, I guess here in New Orleans, this is down to the wire. We're, what is this, Lundi Gras, Luke? Is that? Yeah, Lundi Gras, whatever they call it. But tomorrow here in the New Orleans area, of course, if you're listening to us by way of radio or via the internet at WSHO.com, maybe checking us out on Ustream.tv. What you may not know is that right now we're in the thick of Mardi Gras. And tomorrow's Fat Tuesday. Of course, not many people realize that in the state of Louisiana is a very Catholic state. In fact, that's why we're the only state of the 50 that's still that we don't have counties. We don't have counties. We actually we have parishes, and that's part of the reason why our Catholic background. And of course, Fat Tuesday kicks off the Lenten season, 40 days before Easter. And around here, seafood and non-meat products are very popular, of course, during that time. So getting down here to the station, of course, Luke, I don't know what time you had to leave to come down here, but I had to leave pretty early to make sure that I got down here in plenty enough time. And so if you'd like to give us a call and be a part of the program today, anything we're talking about, you want to add your comments, concerns, questions, or whatever the case may be, we've got a pretty jam-packed show. You can call us at 504-527-0800. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about... I don't know which one to go first. I got two things going on right now that I want to kind of bring up and get your thoughts on. And I guess this is probably the easiest way to start. If you have any thoughts, or maybe you've already gone to see the new movie Son of God, or have plans to go, or are excited about it, or you're upset about the movie, if you have any feelings at all about the new movie Son of God or the new movie Noah, I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts about these two new movies. And, but I'd like to hear from you. So 504-527-0800. And I'd like to have your thoughts. I'm going to share some things that are rather disturbing to me. So I'll kind of put my opinion out there first and foremost, is that I'm very disturbed by both of these movies. And but I am going to lump into this. There's actually, on the day that the Russell Crowe Noah movie gets released, there's another Noah movie being released on the same day, and that's released by Living Waters and Ray Comfort. I actually have already purchased a copy of that, a pre-downloaded version of it. I've already screened it. It's phenomenal. You're going to want to grab this when it comes out. The same day that the movie comes out in theaters, Ray Comfort and Living Waters Ministry is releasing it on DVD, but you can actually go to livingwaters.com right now, and you can kind of help promote the movie. If you're familiar with Ray Comfort's 180 movie, or Genius, or Evolution versus God, it's in that similar vein, except it tackles the story or the issues around Noah. We're going to get into that in a minute. The other thing I want to talk about at the bottom half of the hour, as many of you know, I'm one of the charter members of our local Tea Party, and the Great New Orleans Tea Party. And we were doing radio, myself and a good friend of mine, Chris Pilier, who lives actually up in Prairieville, but he also runs a great website. If you get a chance, go check it out, lanternsofliberty.us. He also has a site that is really starting to take off called thebattlefieldofideas.com. You can check him out on Facebook and Twitter at Chris Pilier. But Chris and I were doing radio. We were doing radio through the Tea Party Patriots. They had a blog talk radio site. We wanted to try to get into radio. Felt like we needed to get a voice and have a voice in the fray of all the voices out there. And he and I, we actually together, we collaborated and wrote 2 books. As many of you that have listened to the show and heard me guest host for Kathleen and here on the Current Word, The Machine, Progression of Secular Socialism and Emancipation Chronicles, Profiles of Black Patriotism. But in doing our research, one of the things we realized that was going on, and we actually got kicked off of Tea Party Patriot Radio because we brought this issue up. And that was that the former Soviet Union just simply changed their uniforms. I'll get into that in the last half, so you're going to want to stick around to that to hear about what's really going on and has been going on in Russia and also the former Soviet Union, all of the independent states of now the former Soviet Union, or maybe the not so former Soviet Union. So let's get back to the movies. First of all, I just want to say that I have not seen either one of the movies. So if you've seen Son of God, or you've maybe got some advanced knowledge about the movie Noah because it's not out yet, give me a call, 504-527-0800. We'll throw you right on the air and get your thoughts on it. My first issue with the Son of God movie is just looking at the, I don't know, what do you call that? What do you call that thing that you, when you go to the movie, you see the big poster? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. The movie poster. When you go to the movie, it's the big, just a big poster of the movie, the official movie poster. And I'm like, really? Do we have to have the Vidal Sassoon hair model, European, drop dead handsome Jesus? I mean, look, I'm pro Jesus. I mean, but does he have to be Jesus who looks like he came from Italy? Or, I mean, he was born in Bethlehem. I mean, he wasn't born in Norway. I mean, this guy is he's gorgeous. And look, I'm secure. I'm secure in my manhood. I know you don't look at me like that, Luke. I'm okay with saying that the Jesus in the movie is a good-looking guy. I mean, it's better than, well, I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. My point is, I can't get past the idea of the Son of God movie just by looking at the poster. Because I'm like, Jesus is not European. He's not some handsome white dude. Now, I'm not trying to make it a racial issue, but I mean, you would think that if you were going to reach out to people in a movie about Jesus, the easiest thing you'd be able to do is get an idea of what the dude might look like based on the area of the world he's from. I mean, if Jesus was born in Paris, or if Jesus was born in Stockholm, or if Jesus was born, I don't know, anywhere besides the Middle East, maybe he would look like Son of God Jesus. I don't know. I'm just saying, just a thought I'm having. And you can kind of, that's my first issue. My first issue with the new movie. That's my first issue. Okay, so I just want to get that out there in the open. Let's go to the phone lines real quick here. We're often early, often running. Let's go to line 1. Welcome to the Current Word with Trey Roberts on WSHO.
Hi, Trey. This is Adam.
Hey, Adam, what's going on?
I was interested in your comments. In fact, I'm very concerned, as you are, about this flurry of movies.
Okay, good, because I was really kind of. What are you concerned about, Adam? Because I got a list of things that I'm going to hit on, but we'll start with yours. What are you concerned about?
Well, number one, we're talking about a Hollywood that has been as anti-Christian as can be for the last probably 50 to 100 years. Rabid anti-Christian, which, immediately runs up a flag for me. But secondly, my concern is that this portrayal of Christ and Christianity, and you're just hitting on it right now, will be not so much to twist the Bible initially, but to present Christ in a manner that actually detracts from who he really was and focuses and gives emphasis to things that distract you from who he really is. And I really feel, and I'm no predictor of the future, of course, but this is a new movement that is an attempt to penetrate the Christian church, and it will be done in small increments. We will get a distracting emphasis at first about who Christ is, in appearance, etc. As you're saying, maybe the next movie will twist one little aspect of the gospel. And this is the way the liberals and progressives work. We know that. And over time, we get a very warped sense of who Jesus is and what he's about, and hence they accomplish their task. That's where I am with it. I just wanted to kind of chime in with it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the call, Adam. I can't disagree with you at all. And in fact, I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think by the end of this segment, first of all, let me hit on Adam's point to kind of piggyback off of this. In case you don't know, the same people that did the Bible mini-series on, I think it was the History Channel, Mark Burnett and the Touched by an Angel lady or whatever, they're the same producers / directors. They're the ones behind this, okay? Now, first and foremost, these people are open. You can simply Google their information and check this to validate that what I'm saying is true, because I'm not trying to be slanderous in any kind of way or speak ill of another brother or anything like this. But I'm telling you, they're presenting another Jesus, because first and foremost, they do not believe in the Trinity. And if you don't believe in the Trinity, you cannot believe that Jesus is in fact God. You deny the deity of Jesus. Now, there's a lot of Jesuses out there, and you know, when we did the Bible miniseries on this radio show, and it came up, I think initially people were happy that there was a popularity around the topic of the Bible, and people were tuning in droves to look at it. And of course, there was a lot of discussion via the internet, the blogosphere, the chat room, the phone lines, shows that Kathleen did. I think some shows that Bob did. I don't think I got a chance to. I haven't seen a single one of the Bible miniseries, because I don't have those channels to be able to see it. But Mark Burnett and the Touched by an Angel lady, his wife, they are non-Trinitarians, and they don't believe in the deity of Jesus. Now, in fact, the name of this particular movie, Son of God, indicates to you what they believe about Jesus. When you read the Gospels, and this will be a shout out to Tony and maybe somebody like Ken, but when you read the Gospels, which you should be doing, you will find that Jesus actually refers to himself more times as the Son of Man than he does the Son of God. In fact, if you're listening right now and you hear me talking, you are a son of God. If you're a believer, if you have accepted Christ, and you're a disciple of Christ, you're a follower of Christ, then you're a child. I'm a child of God. I'm a son of God. So his deity is although being the Son of God indicates to the average Christian that there's some type of deity enwrapped in that name, when you study the Gospels, you find out that, in fact, Jesus calling himself the Son of Man is a far greater, that is when he calls himself God. Let me tell you what I mean. If you go to Daniel 7, in the book of Daniel, and by the way, if you've seen the Son of God movie, we're going to jump into Noah here in a second. If you've seen either one of these movies or heard anything about it, you're disturbed by it, you have opinions about it, you think it's a good thing, call in 504-527-0800. 504-527-0800. When you go to the book of Daniel in chapter 7, verse 13, this is what Daniel says. He says, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. His dominion is as an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Now, you don't have to be a very mature Christian to understand that the first commandment is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. God is a jealous God. He ain't in, I know this ain't good English, but it's good theology. He ain't into you worshiping other gods. Now, anytime in Hebrew, when you look at the Old Testament, anytime there was a reference to the clouds of heaven or coming with the clouds, that's always imagery or a sense of some type of divine or divinity or some type of deity in the reference. But it says, there before me was one like a son of man. And he approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. And he was given authority, glory, and sovereign power, and all nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. Now, this is Daniel getting a vision and a prophetic vision of Jesus Christ, the coming of Christ. This is why Jehovah Witnesses have it wrong. They preach another Jesus. This is why Mormons are wrong, because they preach another Jesus. This is why Islam is wrong, because they believe in another Jesus. Because in fact, when Jesus came to earth, as it says in John 1, when he became flesh and dwelt among men, he called himself, in a way for those who had eyes to see and ears to hear, he called himself the Son of Man, which is a direct reference to this particular verse in Daniel. He was announcing to the world, I am God in flesh. I have come to save the world. So I want to go back to the phone lines here. We're going to go to line one. Line one. Oh, call back. Let's go to line two. Line two, welcome to The Current Word with Trey Roberts on WSHO.
Hey, am I on?
Oh, yes, you're on. What's your name?
My name is Adam.
Another Adam. Hey, Adam.
Hey, how are you? God bless your ministry, man. We'll be praying for you.
Thank you.
I wanted to, I haven't seen either movie. I did see the Bible series. I actually bought it. I mean, to say, that it deviated from Scripture, I guess would be a pretty big understatement. I wasn't very thrilled with it. I get conflicted about it sometimes because, it's like you want there to just be some attention on Jesus, but like you say, you don't want it to be the wrong one. This is what I can say for sure. The Noah movie, I haven't seen it either, but even in the previews, you can see that it strays away from what the Bible says.
Yeah, slightly, right?
Yeah, just even from watching the previews, you don't even have to watch the movie. But I want to say this, and again, I'm with you. I'm not trying to slander this guy or his wife, but I'll say this. I did a little research on him as well, and, man, the Bible says that you can tell them by their fruits, and
right.
And this is all I'm going to say. For one thing, I didn't know about the Trinitarian thing, but that's crazy. That's definitely denying the truth. But I've seen the other fruits that they've produced, and some of the things that they've produced are some of the most worldly, stuff that you can imagine.
Right. Mark Burnett is the producer of The Bachelor, right?
Yeah, and even he's had stuff with the Grammys, and I think even the MTV Music Awards. You can't get any worse than that.
Right.
But other than that, even his wife, who is a co-producer, look, the show Touched by an Angel is so unbelievably anti-biblical.
Non-biblical, right.
You're not going to find reference to a woman's name for an angel in the entire Bible. You won't do it, but she plays an angel in the series that she's in, and that alone, is kind of scary. But I just wanted to say it's the things that I've seen that they've produced. It's you can't take part of the Lord's table in the table of devils as well. You know what I mean? So,
right.
That's kind of my thoughts on that. So it's definitely something I think we should keep an eye on.
I appreciate the phone call, Adam. Thank you for calling, and I'm encouraged by our first two callers that there is a heightened awareness and a spiritual discernment about this movie. Let me just throw this out there before we go to the break, and we'll take our first break in just a second. Some other things about the movie, besides the fact that Jesus did, in fact, announce that he was God when he referenced himself as the Son of Man. And go look it up yourself. He references himself more times as the Son of Man than he does the Son of God. But in this movie, there is 13 disciples. And the 13th disciple is Mary Magdalene. And not only is Mary Magdalene the 13th disciple, there are some scenes in the movie where she actually rebukes some of the biblical disciples for their lack of faith. It's just some really unfortunate things that come up as a result of this movie. So we'll talk a little bit of Noah when we come back from the break. 504-527-0800. What's some of your thoughts about the new movie Son of God and Noah? We're going to get into Noah coming up next after the break, so stick around with that. Tea Party Trey Roberts sitting in for Kathleen Benfield on Lundi Gras here in New Orleans on WSHO, Sunshine 100 AM. Worldwide. 504-527-0800 is the number to call to be a part of the program. Tea Party Trey Roberts sitting in for vacationing Kathleen Benfield. And it's Lundi Gras here in New Orleans. We're talking a little bit about the new movies coming up that are... A lot of Christians are so weary of the secular society that's been pounding away at the foundation of Judeo-Christian culture here in America, that at the first glimpse of something that seems biblical, I'm always nervous that Christians are just going to run out there and throw money at it, and but the thing to be concerned for me, the biggest thing to be concerned, and both Adams that called before the break more or less expressed the same thing, and that was, I don't want to take a child to see this movie and this become like the influencing idea, because movies, and especially big screen, big stories, awesome imagery, those type of things tend to have an effect where you are, where you're literally, you have it has more of an effect on you. Like, those images tend to stay with you. They stick in your head. So I think there's a potential danger incentive, because this Son of God movie is definitely not the Jesus of the Bible, as you might think. Now, in Noah's coming up in about a month or less, give or take. I don't know the exact date, but I know it's coming up soon. And this is going to be, this is Russell Crowe as Noah. There's some bucks being thrown into this particular movie. The challenge with it, though, is for those that have screened it and gotten some of the plot lines, the movie version has Noah as this angry, belligerent, drunk, whereas the Bible calls Noah a preacher of righteousness. This Noah in the movie is concerned with the overpopulation of Earth. You don't even have to be good at Common Core math to know that if it's Noah and his 3 sons and their 4 wives, you can figure out how many people, according to the Bible, were on the ark. And of course, there's going to be more than just 8 people on the ark in this particular movie. The Bible clearly states that Noah was instructed that 2 of each kind of animal would come to him, not 2 of every animal. 2 of every animal is significantly different. That there's 6.5 different species of animals on the planet today, but this would have meant that there would have been a few thousand animals, and these animals could have been all rather young. They wouldn't have had to have been full-grown animals, plus 7 of every clean type of animal, and different birds and stuff like that. The reason being is because that's what some of the things were that they ate when they came off of the ark after a major global flood and whatnot. Vegetation wasn't the best or even probably viable to eat at that time, as the Bible. Just read Genesis. It's amazing if you go back and you really just sit down and read Genesis 1 through 11. So many of the things that are distorted within our science community, within our biblical community, all these different things are fixed. Let's go to the phone lines and go to line 1. They hung up as well. Y'all, look, tell people to be patient when they call. You know, we're going to get to their phone calls. We've lost 2 callers already. We put them on hold. Tell them just to wait. Isn't that one of the fruit of the Spirit? All right. So Ray Comfort has a movie coming out, and actually you can download it right now. You can pay a little bit more for the download and help to defray the costs and actually use it as an offering to support what they're doing. And it's Noah and the Last Days. And what he does in this particular video, if you're familiar with any of his other videos, 180 and Evolution and things of that sort, it's very similar. He talks about the 10 things that the Bible says that before the coming of the Son of Man. And this is why I think it's unique. I think it's incredibly important. And I also think it's beyond coincidence, the timing of the 2 movies that are coming out right now. That being the Son of God video, or the Son of God movie, and Noah. Because Jesus actually said, let's see, Matthew 24, verse 44. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. And we see too many times in the Bible, especially in the New Testament, we see too many times where Matthew 24, verse 37, Jesus said, "But as the days of Noah were, so also will be the coming of the Son of Man." Now think about that. Again, he's referencing himself as the Son of Man. The actual reference that deifies, that announces to the world that I am, in fact, God come to earth. And yet we're going to have a distorted view of Noah and what was going on at the times of Noah in the new Noah movie. And we have a movie out right now about Jesus called Son of God, that is made by non-Trinitarian, non-believing that Jesus was in fact the deity, God himself, God incarnate on the earth. That's just beyond coincidence to me. Because if we're unclear of the times of Noah and the events surrounding the times of Noah, there stands a possibility that we could miss. It stands a possibility that we could miss the signs that are before us with the coming of man. If you hear this right now, give me a call, 504-527-0800, and let's see if you know what some of those signs in the movie. Ray Comfort actually goes in to talk about what some of those signs are. He goes through 10 signs that the Bible talks about. We know that Jesus taught in Matthew 24, 37 through 39. We know that Jesus taught that the flood killed every person that was not on the ark. So this had to be a global flood. This could have been just a little local flood, as some people, even in Christianity, they try to explain with the flood and the biblical account of Noah. This wasn't just affected locally in the Mesopotamian area. Also, he also likened the coming of the coming world judgment of the judgment of all men. There's so many things. The beautiful picture of the ark and the story, the actual historical account from the Bible of the ark is actually a wonderful picture of Christ. And I'll kind of share that with you before we go into our next break. As we come back from the break, I want to get into a little bit of the Vladimir Putin, Russian evil empire back on. Vladimir's trying to put the band back together, y'all. He's trying to put the old band back together. And it looks like America's going to sit back and watch him do it. But we'll talk about that in the last segment of the show today. In 2 Peter 3, 5 through 7, The coming judgment by fire is likened to the former universal judgment by water in Noah's flood. So if there was a partial judgment in Noah's day, you would have to use the same logic to say there'd be a partial judgment in the future. But we know that there's no partial judgment coming. When you take a look at the ark, if you look at the ark not as just some big wooden boat or some big wooden structure that 8 people and a bunch of animals got on and rode a storm out for 40 days and lived on for about a year, and if you don't take it as the rubber ducky bathtub Noah's Ark, but you look at it from a standpoint of the ark as a type of Christ. For instance, the ark was built with rooms. Genesis 6:14 says that Jesus, or Genesis 6:14 rather, says that the ark was built with rooms. Jesus says that his Father's house has many rooms and that he would prepare a place for us in John 14, verse 2. The ark was made of wood, Genesis 6:14, just as the cross was. God invited Noah to come into the ark, Genesis 7:1. Jesus invites us. He says, "Come to me and I will give you rest," Matthew 11:28. Noah and his family had to enter through the ark's one door to be saved, Genesis 6:16. And Jesus is the only door of salvation. He said, quote, "I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved." John 10:9. The ark was the only place of refuge as God poured out his wrath on a sinful world, Genesis 6:13 and 14. And Jesus is the only refuge from God's wrath on Judgment Day, Romans 5:9. Because Noah and his family believed God and entered the ark, they remained alive, Genesis 7, verse 23. Those who believe in God and are in Christ are given eternal life, 1 John 5:11. The Lord shut Noah's family in, keeping them secure so they did not perish, Genesis 7:16. Those who enter into Christ are kept by the power of God, 1 Peter 1:5. And they shall never perish, John 10, verse 28. So you see, the ark that saved Noah and his family from the flood is a beautiful type of Christ as the only way of salvation. You're not going to see that in this Russell Crowe version of the Noah story. You might see some cool CGI things, with water covering everything. But everything else is going to be pretty disturbing, as is the Son of God movie. Because, God doesn't take any pleasure in the death of the wicked, Ezekiel 33:11. Though, by his grace, he has provided a way to escape before judgment comes. And so I think it's going to be important if you go to noahthemovie.com. That's Ray Comfort's site, noahthemovie.com. And you can actually pick up an advanced copy of that right now. If you go to Ray Comfort's website, noahthemovie.com, you can check that out. I think you pay, and here's the kind of a cool thing with it. You get for that $19.99 price that you pay, you get an MP4 version of the movie, Noah the Movie, in advance. They just ask you not to upload it or send it around on Facebook and things like this for copyright issues. But once the movie is dropped, you're free to get it out there as much as you can. They also give you an hour and 10 minute long, I guess, lecture or speech or talk by Ken Ham at a particular event. I think it was a pastor's event at the Creation Museum, and it's he talks about the end times and how that's really upon us, whether you believe it or not. He goes into talking about the days of Noah and what those days are like, and in fact, what we are to expect, what we see all around us. 504-527-0800. But we're talking about wars and rumors of wars, which ties us into our next segment when we come back from the break. it talks about natural disasters, economic failures. Is there any coincidence that China and Russia, the power from the east and the power from the north, are right now gathering strength, and the United States is looking weaker and weaker? There's no great eagle or great power from the west that comes in at the Battle of Armageddon. There's no mention in the Bible of the United States. I'm just saying. I mean, you got to think about that. And the church in the United States has pretty much been relatively persecution free when you really think about the years that the years here of quote unquote religious freedom that we've enjoyed as a society. And I'm not talking about persecution where you can't wear a Jesus shirt to a concert or something. I'm talking about persecution where you're thrown in jail for identifying with Christ. So I don't know what's coming. I don't claim to be a predictor. I'm just saying that we can go to the Word, though, and with some proper exegesis and some practical hermeneutics, we can read the Scripture. We can discern the message and what God's telling us. And although we shouldn't be looking for signs, it says that there will be some that are pretty obvious. And understanding the times of Noah. Just another big example, and I hesitate to bring this up because I know we have a lot of kids oftentimes that listen to this particular show with their parents, but the reference to the Bible of Sodom and Gomorrah and what those particular cities were most known for. Those particular things we see prevalent today. When Tim Tebow is derided for taking a knee and mocked and made fun of because, and I'm not lifting up his theology, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying when society mocks a guy for taking a knee and praying, but they celebrate a guy like he's Jackie Robinson in the same league and probably not even good enough to play in the NFL. This is where we are. This is what we're seeing. This is the new commonplace. There's two scriptures that have really just been standing out to me over the last several months. What is highly esteemed among men is an abomination to God. What is highly esteemed among men is an abomination to God. How many things do we take part of as Christians simply because they're highly esteemed among men? And the other verse is that if the love of the world, if there is the love of the world in you, the love of the Father is squeezed out of you. We become way too carnal. And we become way too worldly. 504-527-0800 is the number to call. Be a part of the show. Tea Party Trey Roberts sitting in for Kathleen Benfield. We'll be right back after this quick timeout. Give us a call. We'll see you in just a second.
The future of America is at stake, and frankly, many Americans are frightened at the direction we're taking.
Oh, but have no fear. Tea Party Trey is near. Tea Party Trey Roberts sitting in for the vacationing Kathleen Benfield, who's off today. And I know she's off today because it's difficult for her to get down here, not because there were some questions as to whether or not Kathleen goes to parades. I'm pretty confident that Kathleen is not here today, not because she's staking her parade route claim for Mardi Gras tomorrow. Pretty confident in that. And hopefully you can hear the sarcasm in my voice of even entertaining that. Okay, we're going to go back to the phone lines right now, and then we're going to jump in. So we're going to go to... First and foremost, we're going to go to Phil the Patriot from the Patriot Cave. Phil, welcome to The Current Word with Trey Roberts on WSHO.
Hey, listen up. Great show as always, Bill. Great show. Listen, I want to chime in with this a little bit. I have to admit, that I have not seen another movie since I saw The Passion of the Christ. That's the last time that I actually paid to see a movie. It's because I'm not going to go see these movies. I think that most movies are evil. That's what I said, evil. And I think that going to some of these movies is a sinful activity.
Including Passion of the Christ, right, Phil?
Yeah, that's the last time I actually saw a movie.
No, what I'm saying is...
I'm cured.
What I'm saying is, though, the Passion of the Christ was so... I mean, it was from a Catholic worldview. I mean, there were stations of the cross in that movie that are not even in the Bible.
I understand that, and for some reason, I just don't watch movies anymore.
I agree with you.
I don't want to be around them at all. And I think that most movies, if not all of them, are very, very evil, and it's a sinful activity. And everybody knows that the wages of sin is death. I just think these movies are putting all kinds of images in people's minds that should not be there.
Well, Phil, stay with me for a second. In Ray Comfort's movie that's out right now on download only, but that will be released on the same day as the Noah movie is going to be released. One of the things that, and I don't want to give it away, but one of the things he does in the movie is he interviews these people on I think it's like Malibu Beach or something out in California, and he asks them, "Are you a Christian?" They're like, "Yeah." And they say, "Are you born again?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, do you go see R-rated movies?" And all the people said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "Well, what about like the lovemaking scenes? What do you think about that? Do you think it's right to go watch that?" And they were like, "Well, they were kind of iffy. Some of them said no, some of them said." But here's what he said. He goes, "What would you say if you were with your wife in your home, and you were about to make love to your wife, and you looked at the window, and there was a guy standing out your window? What would you do?" And every one of them said, "I would call the police because the guy's a peeping Tom." And so Ray Comfort said, "Well, what's the difference between that and you looking through the window of a movie screen watching two people make love on screen? The only difference is you're actually paying to go see that one, and the other guy, it's a criminal act. But for the Christian, what's the difference?"
I like that. That's good. That's real cool. I just think that these video games and these movies have a whole lot of impact on people. And before I was saying that, the ways of sin is death, I think that some of these little children are being programmed through these movies and these video games to do some of these things like these baseball attacks and all of that. As a matter of fact, I believe that going to a Mardi Gras parade is a sinful activity. And I said before, the ways of sin is death. That's one of the reasons why people get killed. They go to these things, they involve themselves in things that the Bible says not to do. The Bible says not to, adopt the ways and customs and manners of these other cultures. It says, you have no fellowship with the wicked. It says to avoid even the appearance of evil. And to me, I'm against it all, and I'm telling people out there right now, do not take your kids to see movies. Do not buy video games for your kids. Don't take your kids out to Mardi Gras because one of them might not come back alive. I mean, the scope is so deep that I can't tell you. I am positive that these things hypnotize, and that's the word that I'm inventing right now. They hypnotize people and turn them into things that they should not be. In fact, I think they become dangerous zombie idiots. And that's right. I said a idiot, after so much exposure to these things. That's why I think we had the Colorado shootings in these theaters. I think we had the Boston Marathon people do these attacks. They watch this pornography. They play these games. They go to these movies. And to me, they're no longer, in fact, they're living zombies, and they're stalking us even at this moment.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate the phone call. I don't disagree with you, and I would add the one thing is that when you look at education, the secular worldview that these people get is also a huge influence into the mass shootings and the crimes and all the other things that we see right now. These are also things that are affecting and developing this sort of thing. So we have to be careful that don't let that worldview in. Thank you, Phil, for the phone call. That was the Patriot from the Patriot Cave. Let's go to Jay. Jay on line 2. Jay, welcome to The Current Word with Trey Roberts on WSHO.
Yes, hello. Talking about the Russian situation, the Ukrainian situation.
I know, we haven't even got there yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, I hope the U.S., I know they're not, I guess, but I would wish that, and I call on the U.S. government to be neutral in this conflict, problem, whatever you want to call it. I wish the U.S. government would stay out of it, wouldn't be trying to get all involved in it.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Jay.
Situation.
Before you finish your opinion, let me ask you this. Is it possible to be neutral in anything?
Oh, yes, I think so, certainly.
Okay, so in other words, if we don't do anything, are we not, in fact, supporting what Vladimir Putin is doing?
No, because that's a real complicated problem between Russia and Ukraine, and it's been going on for a long time, really back to the 1790s. And
well, but do you understand what's really at stake here? Are you aware of what's going on and what the significance of the Crimea?
20 years.
What's that?
I've been studying that situation for over 20 years.
Okay, good. So share with our listeners what is the significance of the Crimean Peninsula in Ukraine and why Russia would potentially want to take it, invade it, and take it and expand its borders.
Well, what happened was back in the 1790s, Poland used to own most of Ukraine.
Well, don't go so far back. Let's go back maybe 20
I can
years.
say this quick. Poland was taken over by Russia, Austria, and Prussia, which is now part of Germany. And that was the case for many years. And then after World War I, Germany collapsed and Austria collapsed and Russia collapsed. So then Ukraine tried to break away and make their own country, but then Russia, the Soviet Union, absorbed it. Now, we've had a problem with Ukraine for all these years because the western part of Ukraine, which was under control of Poland and Austria, did not have much in common with Russia, and they didn't really want to be part of Russia. And then the eastern part,
They were very pro-Western, right?
to some extent, I don't know about pro-American, but they prefer being part of Austria or Poland.
They were more European
Right.
than they
The
were
eastern part-
Soviet or Russian.
The eastern part was more Eastern oriented in their culture.
Correct.
And they speak Russian, and they always preferred to be part of Russia. Now, Crimea was historically part of Russia, but then Nikita Khrushchev decided one day, we're going to give that to Ukraine
Right.
in 1954, which he did. And that really upset the Russian people, but it didn't really matter at the time because it was the Soviet Union. It was all one big country.
Let me ask you this, as someone who has studied this, let me ask you this question because I got to take a couple more calls before we get off today. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, did the Soviet Union really go away?
It did go away, yes, for sure. Absolutely. It's gone and has been gone since December 1991.
All right. Well, I disagree. Thank you for the call, Jay. I'll try to get to it. I'm going to go right back to the phone lines right now and go to Tony. Tony, welcome to the Current Word with Trey Roberts on WSHO.
Hey, hello there.
How are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, I got a call. They said, come over, you got to rescue the radio station. They're looking for you. So what's happening? What's happening? I just kind of run in here. Let's talking about a movie.
Well, we're talking about this. You have two movies that right now are coming out. You got the Son of God movie from the same people that did the Bible miniseries, the non-Trinitarian, non-deity and Jesus believing, bachelor producing couple. And then you also have the Noah movie, which totally just shreds the biblical account of Noah and the events around it. And I see it, Tony, as non-coincidental that what truly made Jesus, when you read the Gospels, and this is what I said you'd get a kick out of this, when you read the Gospels, you find out that Jesus referred to himself as the Son of Man more times than the Son of God. And when you go into Daniel 7 and you read that prophetic vision that Daniel had, you see that Jesus was in fact calling himself and announcing to the world that I am God incarnate by assuming the title Son of Man. And the final time that he uses it, when he's standing there about to be handed over to ultimately flogging and being crucified.
Yeah, I, after listening to you a little bit here, I'll take a historical thing. If we take and really look at the media industry that pretty much started after World War II, we have been, throughout decades here, been saturated by movies that tend to present the Bible. Even if we go all the way back to Charlton Heston, we have a reconstruction of how events happened and stuff, and different opinions and feelings that try to appeal to a psychological, emotional, and maybe a spiritual, religious gumbo here. And you're trying to present that to the public in a way which commonly only revolved around, probably up until maybe the early 70s, it appealed to maybe some spiritual insights. Now it's about money, and it's about rewriting truth in a different way. And that this is the exact methodology of how Lucifer approached Eve. He questioned truth. And that when you portray today to people, to a generation of people today where we're commonly what I call audiologic and videologically controlled, we have these things that appeal to our senses, and we don't check it out because in most cases, most churches don't teach the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth according to the Gospels. Therefore, you are being beguiled by Lucifer. And that's why the road that will lead to destruction will be very broad. Movies will be a part of it, but, you know, that's not the whole concept. You know, if I had to take, here's one to take, let's laugh at this one. Really, the original troublemaker of all of this started with Clarence in It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
And that's where, you know, we have this concept of this good old guy that comes along, and listen, people hold, even if they can't prove it in the Bible, we hold to this idea or this some kind of just a mental concept that this guardian angel is somehow like Clarence watching over me and stuff, and it runs across gamuts of all denominations.
Absolutely. Tony, I'm up against it, Tony. I need to finish up. Thank you for the call, my brother. And what Tony's talking about, you know, there are so many things that we hold on to as biblical truth that are simply not in the Bible. Let me get to this real quick. Putin. Okay, here's what's going on. I'm going to try to do this in less than 3 minutes. Okay. First of all, when the Soviet Union fell, I disagree with Jay. The Soviet Union, what the leaders of the Soviet Union did upon the fall of the Soviet Union was they went into the forest and they went into the woods and they said, listen, this isn't going to last any longer. Let's take off the military uniforms and let's put on suits and let's turn in our communist cards and let's pick up business cards. And they separated everything, but many of the independent states, the former states of the Soviet Union, are still very much controlled via proxy. They're very pro-Russian, controlled by the Kremlin. You have someone in Putin who was a colonel in the old KGB under the Soviet Union. If you saw the Sochi Olympics was an homage to the former Soviet Union. And if you were born in 1989 or later, you don't have a clue about how bad communism was under the former Soviet Union. You don't have a foggy, even the foggiest idea. 60% of Americans today think socialism's okay. They don't know how bad communism was. And what we see in Syria, keep in mind what happened in Syria and why Syria has become such a big deal is the Saudi Arabians wanted to run a pipeline from Saudi to Europe. Right now, Europe gets most of their energy from the Russians. There are a few pipelines that Europe is more or less controlled from an energy standpoint by Russia. Putin has turned the spigot off before in threatening them. Crimea and through the Ukraine, there are some key pipelines that run through the Ukraine that give most of the energy to the to the EU. Now, the reason that Russia came out against Syria or stood on the side of Syria, Saudi Arabia asked us to go in and overthrow the dictator currently in Syria because he's not in favor of running this pipeline from Saudi Arabia into Europe because that would hurt the Russian supply to Europe. Vladimir Putin doesn't want any kind of competition because that's their primary revenue source. The economy of Russia is weak. The people are starving. It is hard to live in Russia and all of these independent states. So if he can go in and militarily take control of all these different parts of the former Soviet Union and more or less put the band back together, then he can once again potentially control the finances of the EU. The EU right now is impotent at best. They can't do anything because they're so dependent upon, and the United States can't do anything because we're not energy independent in our own right to be able to offer the EU an alternative if Russia turns off the spout. So make no doubt about it. This is about crony capitalism. The old Soviet Union may have gone away in name, but it did not go away. It did not go away in the major players. Boris Yeltsin, Mikhail Gorbachev, all of these types of individuals, Gorbachev has come here to New Orleans to talk about the Green Initiative. They are radical environmentalists now, which is total redistribution of income and total Marxism in the same way that they believed when they were in charge of the former Soviet Union and when the Soviet Union fell. So make no doubt about it. Perestroika was a fake, and this is what my friend Chris and I got kicked off of Tea Party Patriot Radio, because if you look, more or less, Russia has a very small port into the North Sea, and everything else is the Arctic Ocean. This gives them an opportunity to get into the Black Sea and a sea route into the Mediterranean, because they need a better way to get their navy out. The Soviet Union, Russia has gone to 8 different countries asking for ports to place their ships. They just recently docked some Navy ships in Nicaragua, Cuba, and Argentina. So make no doubt, and look, Sochi, the Winter Olympics, was Vladimir Putin's homage to the Soviet Union and his coming out party. That the United States, unfortunately, under this administration, is in no position, morally or militarily, to oppose what's going on. And I know Jay says we don't need to intervene, but I'm telling you, Jesus said, "You're either with me or against me. You're scattering or you're gathering." There is no neutral. If we stand by, the people of Ukraine, they were rallying to get rid of the pro-Russian president. They did it with by protesting. This was a pro-democracy, pro-freedom, pro-liberty movement, and I'm telling you, we should have been on the side. The same way we should have been on the side of the Iranians, the same way we should have been on the side, we should have stayed out of Egypt. You know, the whole Middle East right now is pro-Muslim Brotherhood, radical fundamentalism of Islam. They're all coalescing their abilities and powers. And look, China right now, China supports what Russia is doing in the Ukraine. Well, why is that? Because China is right now flexing its muscles a little bit in the South China, I think the North China Sea, anyway, there's some islands that Japan more or less says are theirs, that China is saying is theirs. And we're supposed to be on the side of the Ukraine. We're supposed to be a side of Japan, but we're not doing anything. We're issuing statements. We're talking. We're trying to use diplomacy, and it's not working. We are giving off an appearance of weakness to the entire world. The world right now knows Vladimir Putin doesn't care about our politics or our senses or sensibilities. He doesn't care about any of that stuff, and he's doing what he wants to do, which is to accumulate power. And I'm telling you, this is a very, very interesting time, because if we're not going to do anything to China, China knows we're not going to oppose them if they were to go in and militarily attack Japan and take those islands that are in that they're contesting right now with Japan. That's why they're supporting Russia in Russia's right to take the Ukraine. Russia's going to support them. We're seeing it's a new axis of evil that's being taken place, and Saudi Arabia was asking us to go in and remove the dictator of Syria, because they wanted to install somebody who would be willing to run pipeline through Syria to get to Europe. Russia came out in support of Syria because Russia want to keep a monopoly on that market. So that's what's really going on. Follow the money, follow the power, and understand that the band is being put back together. Well, I went a little bit long, but I appreciate Luke for not cutting me off. And thanks for everybody that called today. Crazy times, but you know what? God is good and God is faithful. And we just got to keep our eyes and ears open. Hey, this has been Tea Party Trey Roberts sitting in for Kathleen Benfield here on The Current Word. Hey, remember to oppose progressivism wherever it rears its ugly head. Illuminate the light of truth. We'll see you next time.